I've been meaning to do a series of videos on bounty hunting in Elite Dangerous for a while now, as that's been my primary activity within the game, and I seem to keep coming back to Elite, putting it aside for a few months, and then it draws me back in. The visuals are amazing, the combat's great, and Frontier do a fantastic job of keeping it up to date with patches and updates, Horizons being the most recent one. So I thought I'd start at the beginning in a Sidewinder and go back to this tiny little ship and just go through the motions of how to get going, how to get started in bounty hunting. So before I get into tools of the trade, weapons, types of ship, etc, etc, let's talk about where you can go to find bounties. And by far the easiest location to start off with, particularly in something like a Sidewinder, which is paper thin and doesn't really pack too much of a punch, is a nav beacon. And these can be found in most systems. They're reasonably safe locations. They often have federal police there, and other spacefaring craft that will help you out, and they will attack wanted targets alongside you. So it takes the heat off, takes the pressure off a starting out bounty hunter. So find a nav beacon. If it's a compromised nav beacon, be careful. These have been interdicted by large numbers of pirates and smugglers and so on, and they can be quite hairy at times, particularly for a new bounty hunter. So having dropped into your local nav point, the next thing to do is to search for a target, and this is as simple as looking through the list of what's in the local area and picking something out. In this particular case, I found a federal gunship, and having targeted it, after a few seconds you can see on the left hand side in the HUD there that it's wanted. And a federal gunship is a pretty beefy opponent, certainly for a tiny little Sidewinder, but as you can see he's already under attack by system authority vessels that are within the nav point already. So this is a prime opportunity to take advantage of that. Hopefully he won't turn his guns on me, being a tiny little target, and I can get away with claiming a decent bounty right off the bat. So I've equipped the little Sidewinder. It does come with pulse lasers to start off with, but I prefer the Gatling guns, which are a beefy substitute. Multi-cannons they're known as in the game. They have limited ammunition, but they do make a lovely sound, and they pack a reasonable punch. So they'll take a while to chew through this particular vessel's armour, being as he's such a big target, but we should get a fairly decent bounty from him if we can get him down. You'll notice on the right hand side of the HUD there is a readout for your systems, and if you're using energy weapons you invariably want to dump more power into your weapon systems so that you have a better charge, because energy weapons will eat through your weapon power fairly rapidly. But with multi-cannons, and this is another reason why I selected them, they don't use up quite so much of your weapon power, and that gives you a few extra pips for your shields and your engine power. So his shields are down now, and doing my best to stay behind him at all times, a bit like Second World War fighter games. If you're in a Spitfire or something like that, always try to stay behind your opponent. The last thing you want to do is go face to face with a bigger ship, because he will tear through your shields in seconds, and his weapons are invariably much bigger than yours. We're gradually eating through his hull now, And on the left hand side I've actually targeted his power plant, which you can do. You can set up a key so that you can target specific subsystems on an enemy ship. Many ships are vulnerable to power plant attacks, particularly the very large Anaconda ship has a weakness in that if you target its power plant, it will take it down much more rapidly than if you're just trying to hit it in general. The Vulture is the same. Vulture is a fantastic combat craft. For some reason its power plant is very susceptible to attack, and you can usually pop the Vulture much sooner than you would be able to take down its armor if you target its power plant specifically. He started to notice me and I'm taking a few hits. Shields are almost down now. They seem to be holding for the time being.
Shields offline.
It's a good idea to make use of the free flight button, which again you can set up in the options, and this allows you to spin like a turret to turn very rapidly in combat. Yeah, he's really he's got his eyes on me now. 39% left on my hull. Dump some pips into shield, break off for a few seconds. The thing with the smaller ships is the shields come back very rapidly, so boost away, give yourself a little bit of time. He's still being attacked by others, so he's lost interest in me, which is great. Now I can come back in, play a little bit tactically. My weapon energy pool is still at half, so I don't need to switch back to that just yet. He's nearly down. You can see his power plant is less than half now. Prefer these kind of fights where you're up against it. A Sidewinder versus a Viper or an Eagle is usually a reasonably easy fight and a good starting point if you're just starting the game. But if you've got a little bit of experience in combat and you understand the flight mechanics, the way your weapons work, your turn and roll rates, then picking on a bigger ship and seeing if you can take it down is definitely a nice challenge. And of course the purpose of this is literally just to get enough bounty up so that you can get into a bigger ship. And the next ship that we'll be looking at, which is the most logical step, is an Eagle, although you may wish to save for a Viper or a Cobra. But the Eagle has the advantage over the Sidewinder. It's faster, it's got an additional hard point so you can mount another weapon, so it's a better fighter. There goes his power plant, where he hasn't popped just yet. There are multiple explosions going off on his ship and he's in trouble. He stopped moving, he's a static target, and he'll be dead very soon. And that should provide quite a reasonable bounty. Now if I'd tried to take him on solo, it would have been a different story, I'm sure. His beam weapons would have, his turreted weapons rather, would have taken me out very quickly, I'm sure. But when you're being helped by other vessels in the system, it all works out for the best. So lastly in this video, I just wanted to talk about the bread and butter tools of the bounty hunting trade. And aside from your weapons and your shields, etc., you will want to pack a kill warrant scanner. Now this tool is used almost immediately as soon as you found a wanted vessel. Apply your kill warrant scanner to it. It takes about 10 seconds. You have to keep it to the front of your vessel, and once it's been applied, that will then increase the bounty that you receive if you manage to take that vessel down. Although he's a pirate in this particular system, he may be a pirate or a smuggler in other systems as well, and what the kill warrant scanner does is it amalgamates all of those different bounties from other systems, whether it's Federal or Empire or Alliance, and applies them to your kill. So it will increase your profits substantially if you use that on each of your targets before you take them down. This little Diamondback Explorer, or Scout rather, is a much easier target than the last one, and he doesn't last very long. And there he goes. And a nice 30 grand bounty to go with it. I hope that was helpful, and we'll take a look at the Eagle in the next video and its loadouts and a few more tips and tricks.